Hi, everybody. Brad Truex here again from Eastman's Woodlands and Wildlife Committee. And today we're going to talk about mosquitoes. It's particularly important to talk about mosquitoes now after the extremely wet May that we had has left a lot of standing water around. So while ticks may be the most dangerous insect we usually deal with here at Eastman, mosquitoes and black flies are probably the most annoying insects. And the traditional New Hampshire black fly season from Mother's Day to Father's Day is nearing its end. So, as black fly season draws to a close, it's time to turn our focus to mosquitoes. The mosquito season is present anytime that there's still or standing water hanging around. And there are certainly lots of standing water around after the very rainy May that we just experienced here in 2025. Even though we said mosquitoes are less dangerous here than ticks, they're actually the world's deadliest animal. Mosquito-borne diseases cause more than 700,000 deaths worldwide on an annual basis. And they not only cause annoying bites, but they can carry pathogens like bacteria, viruses, and parasites. And in fact, they can transmit diseases like yellow fever, dengue fever, malaria, tularemia, West Nile virus, chikungunya virus, Zika virus, Eastern equine encephalitis. So they certainly can transmit a lot of diseases. And in New England last year, there were increasing reports of both West Nile virus and Eastern equine encephalitis. And those are probably the most serious and potentially fatal mosquito-borne diseases. So we'll talk a little bit about them a little bit later in this video. Unlike black flies, which propagate in running water, mosquitoes breed in still or standing water. And females of many mosquito species require blood for their eggs to develop. So they have to bite people in order to get that blood for their eggs to develop. So the eggs of mosquitoes are laid in stagnant water, and that provides the mosquito larvae with bacteria and microorganisms that they need for food. Such still stagnant water could be a pond, a marsh, a temporary puddle, a water-filled hole in a tree, or even water trapping leaves, even things like your bird feeder or bird bath. And many of the items you find on your property can serve as breeding sites for mosquitoes. Actually, only a few ounces of water are actually needed for their eggs to hatch. So even the smallest amount of standing water is important. Time also matters. Mosquitoes are crepuscular. That means they're most active at dusk and dawn. They tend to rest in a cool place during the heat of the day. Smell also matters. Smell is very important for mosquitoes. Female mosquitoes hunt for hosts by smelling substances like carbon dioxide that are produced by the host and through some visual recognition. And they can smell carbon dioxide plumes that we exhale from about 200 feet away. So they know when we're out. We should know when they're out. And note that alcohol and spicy foods may increase your own production of carbon dioxide. So beware that those may be times that you're especially prone to mosquito bites. And of 72 types of odor receptors in their antennae, at least 27 are tuned to detect chemicals that are found in our own perspiration. A study that was published in the journal iScience found that washing with some soaps attracted mosquitoes, while other soaps were repellent. And those soaps that had floral scents were most likely to make you attractive to mosquitoes. Those that had coconut scents, on the other hand, tended to repel mosquitoes. Color also matters. There was an experiment that was done where mosquitoes ignored a colored dot if it was green, blue, or purple. On the other hand, if that dot was red, orange, black, or cyan, mosquitoes would fly toward it. So you got to think about the clothes that you're wearing because some of them may actually be attracting the mosquitoes. Is there really such a thing as a mosquito magnet? Well, there probably is. There was a famous experiment that was done where they put people in an arena. Each one was in 8 tents that were connected via air ducts. And those air ducts would funnel odors from each tent's occupant over to a black heated disk that was located in the experimental space. And mosquitoes were actually 4 times more likely to land on the disk that was associated with the subject who attracted the most mosquitoes compared to the one that attracted the least. So this pretty much confirms that, in fact, some people are mosquito magnets. And in that experiment, they uncovered 15 airborne compounds that were present in the odors that were produced by all the subjects. But it was concentrations of these various chemicals that determined how likely the mosquitoes were actually going to bite them. And carboxylic acids especially tended to attract the mosquitoes. And acetone, which is produced by various skin microbes, also attracted them. So what can you do? Uh, First of all, it's important that you reduce or eliminate any standing water near your property. You need to fill any ditches or low-lying areas that are on your property that can capture water after a rainstorm. Amazingly, again, mosquitoes only need a few ounces of water for their eggs to hatch. So these are places that you need to look for sources of standing water: vases, buckets, bird baths, depressions on top of rocks, toys like kids' sand pails, pet balls, wheelbarrows, kayaks, canoes, tires, gutters, or corrugated drain pipe extensions. I always forget to overturn our wheelbarrow, and after a rainstorm, there's usually an inch or so of water that's in the wheelbarrow. So you got to make sure that you empty those on a regular basis. They can also breed in trash cans and compactors. So if you have those out, you might want to drill holes in the bottom to let the water drain out into the dirt. So what else can you do? And once again, in order to eliminate that standing water, once a week, you ought to empty and scrub, turn over, cover, and throw out any items that hold water, like those tires or buckets or planters, toys, pet bowls, flower pots or saucers, rain barrels, or any other containers, because those are the places that mosquitoes are likely to lay their eggs. You need to empty and wash your bird baths and wading pools on a weekly basis, and clean and chlorinate any swimming pool that you might have, and drain any water collecting on top of the pool covers. If you have a garden pond, you want to stock it with fish that might eat mosquitoes or mosquito eggs or larvae. And some of those fish are mosquito fish, goldfish, or koi. And some people even recommend putting small fish like guppies in small collections of water that you can't eliminate. So what else can you do? How about the mosquito bucket? Does this thing really work? Well, there are things called mosquito dunks that are tablets containing a bacteria that's toxic only to mosquito larvae, doesn't affect any other insects. And the mosquito bucket is really a diversion. It attracts mosquitoes to lay their eggs in a very attractive spot that happens to be very deadly for those eggs. So you get a 5-gallon bucket, you fill it halfway with water, add some grass, leaves, and other organic matter, and then you toss in one of these mosquito dunks. And as the grass and leaves begin to rot in water, carbon dioxide is released. That attracts the female mosquitoes that are ready to lay their eggs. So you need to place that mosquito bucket near areas where you spend a lot of time outdoors. And roughly every 30 days, add a new mosquito dunk and add some fresh grass and leaves to your bucket. Is this hype? Well, probably, but certainly might be worth a try if you have a serious mosquito problem. So what else can you do? Well, first of all, you should restrict your outdoor activities at dusk and dawn. Remember, we said mosquitoes are crepuscular. They're most active at dusk and dawn. Insect repellents containing DEET, picaridin, or permethrin can be very helpful. Wear mosquito netting, loose clothes, long pants, and long sleeves. Wear colors like green, blue, and purple rather than red, orange, black, or cyan. Use coconut scented soaps and avoid floral scented soaps. The jury is really out on mechanical devices that produce sound or various light waves. At a bat house. Bats can eat up to 50% of their weight in insects each day, and even more if they're females that have pups. And certain native plants that attract dragonflies and damselflies may also help. And those would be plants like black-eyed Susans, Joe Pye weed, and swamp milkweed. And of course, commercial spraying for ticks and mosquitoes can be extremely useful. You need to protect yourself. Wear a bug shirt or a bee bonnet. But remember, these should fit loosely or the mosquitoes will bite right through the netting. The same applies to the clothes you wear. If they're too tight, the mosquitoes may be able to bite right through into your skin. And you want to make sure that your clothes cover any other areas of your skin so you don't have areas that are going to be exposed. How about mosquito repellents? Well, look for repellents that have the following active ingredients according to CDC: DEET, IR 3535, and that's in things like Skin So Soft. You should not use oil of eucalyptus. That's not recommended by CDC because it's not been tested by the EPA for either safety or effectiveness. Picaridin, which is in Cutler Advanced and some Skin So Soft products, is good. And permethrin, which we often use to avoid tick bites, is also very effective against mosquitoes. So how about permethrin? It's actually a very effective agent against mosquitoes as well as ticks. And you can use permethrin on your clothing and your shoes when exposure to mosquitoes is likely, or you can wear permethrin treated clothing. You have to, a little bit of caution though. There is some data that associates mortality with very high levels of permethroid exposure. CDC recommends using 0.5% permethrin to treat your clothing and your gear. So again, not only your clothing, but you can treat your backpacks or your tents, your shoes, your hiking boots, etc. And be sure to read the product label to find out how long the protection from those permethrin treated items will last. So, for instance, if you buy permethrin treated clothing, it may be good for X number of washings. And someplace on the label or the product label, when you bought that clothing, it should tell you how long to expect that protection to last. But do not use your permethrin products directly on your skin. And what about your pets? Well, yes, mosquitoes can also bite your pets, and moreover, your pets can bring mosquitoes into your home. So you want to make sure that they aren't bringing mosquitoes in. You can use permethrin on dogs, but it's very toxic to cats and never should be used on cats. So read the product label carefully to see how and how often you can use permethrin on your dog. And do not use products containing DEET on your pets because they can be very toxic. And you also need to be careful when you're spraying those products containing DEET that you don't spray them on an item that a pet might lick and get exposed to. So what else can you do? Well, again, CDC has a very good website with lots of recommendations on how to control mosquitoes around your home. So we recommend you go to the CDC website. Either that or you can just Google CDC and mosquitoes and you'll probably get to that website. So mosquito bites, what do you do about them? Well, itching from mosquito bites is usually self-limited. It's usually not a serious thing. And most mosquito bites don't need any sort of treatment at all. You can wash them with soap and water and apply ice. That might help somewhat reduce the itching. Over-the-counter topical anti-itch creams may also be used for relief of any itching. And some antihistamines also come in spray form. So, for instance, Benadryl spray may be useful for itching on your skin. And aloe vera gel may also help. And for more severe itching, hydrocortisone cream is an option, but that's seldom necessary and should never be used on a long-term basis. And home remedies often mentioned are things like honey and oatmeal. And to me, they sound better for breakfast than for treating mosquito bites. So mosquitoes and diseases. We noted earlier that mosquito is actually the world's deadliest animal. it causes more than 700,000 deaths worldwide annually. And again, we talked about some of the diseases that can be transmitted. Uh, we've not seen most of those diseases yet here in New Hampshire, at least not recently, but they have occurred in other states in the United States. But here in New England last year, there were increasing reports of two of the most serious and potentially fatal mosquito-borne diseases, those being West Nile virus and Eastern equine encephalitis. So we'll talk just briefly about those two diseases. West Nile disease is again caused by a mosquito-borne West Nile virus. And the symptoms of West Nile disease are fever, headache, body aches, joint pains, vomiting, diarrhea, various rashes, fatigue, muscle weakness, and confusion, meningitis, and encephalitis. And older people are particularly vulnerable to more severe forms of this disease. Actually, NIH's Dr. Anthony Fauci almost died last year from West Nile disease. Many of you probably remember that story. And 1 in 10 people who develop severe disease will end up dying. Recovery can also be very prolonged, and there's no specific treatment. And the management of West Nile disease is mainly supportive. So treatment with fluids, pain medications, nursing care, etc. Eastern equine encephalitis is the other deadly disease that's caused by a mosquito-borne virus. And although rare, Eastern equine encephalitis is very serious. About 30% of people who develop severe Eastern equine encephalitis actually die. And many of the people who survive have ongoing neurological problems. So the triple E virus circulates in the environment between mosquitoes and birds that are typically found in freshwater hardwood swamps. Cases tend to peak in August and September, and that's what we saw here in New Hampshire last year. It was late in the season when cases of Eastern equine encephalitis were reported. And as the name implies, horses are often affected. The symptoms of Eastern equine encephalitis are fever, headache, vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, behavioral changes, and drowsiness. And there is no specific treatment. Cases did increase again in New England in 2024. And there's probably some relation there to climate change. And because of those cases, many communities actually had to close parks and spray for mosquitoes. So Eastern equine encephalitis can be a serious complication of certain mosquito bites. So again, there you have it. This little fella is actually the world's deadliest animal. It's extremely important that right now you start thinking about some of those areas of stagnant water that might be on your property, and make sure that you take care of them not only today, but on a regular basis. Hope you've enjoyed this, and stay safe.